All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live here during the month of August, which is National Minority Donor Awareness Month as an organ donorship. So we are with the Hale Collaborative. I am Shayla Singleton, Digital Marketing Director, and our guest and highly esteemed team member, Quinn Taylor, is out in Chicago. She is the Regional Director of Community Outreach and Advocacy for the Midwest. So, Quinn, how are you doing today?
I am well, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for making the time because she is definitely a busy woman, but busy with purpose. That's why she's such a gem to our team. We appreciate her. Um, and for minority organ donors, this is something that's very personal to Quinn. So I was excited when she made me aware that August is National Minority Organ Donor Month because if you haven't heard of it, like I didn't, it's not out there. So first, let's start with that. Like, do you know like the history of like why this month is so important and why it's important to bring recognition to minority organ donors? Mm-hmm.
We often see patient organizations in the space of kidney disease. They often advocate for kidney donations or they advocate just for organ donations, right? Most people just think kidneys are hearts, but you can actually donate your lungs, your skin, eyes for cornea transplants, many different things. So, an organ donation in general, we always seeing people say, sign up to be an organ donor. Say, don't take your organs to heaven. We need them down here. But as in most things, healthcare, we know that there are disparities, social determinants, etc., people of color from receiving the same access and resources that other people may receive just for, socioeconomic reasons. So the reason that we have National Minority Donor Awareness Month is to bring specific attention to that problem. I tell everyone, people getting transplant increases. It has increased over the year, but if you look at the numbers of Black Americans getting transplanted has remained the same for the past 2 to 3 years. So why is that? If more people are getting transplanted, why aren't Black Americans among that group of to grow to get more transplants?
Yeah. And there's so much we're going to cover in this short time. So, encourage you to share this video as it's posted somewhere. Please write in the comments because we definitely would love to connect with you and answer any questions we can. So, yeah, there is definitely disparity with the number of Black patients receiving organs. So, what are some known factors to that? Is it that we're just not aware of the lists that are available, or that's just not communicated? Um, and just what are some of the barriers of why we're seeing that low number?
There are many. Off the top of my head, I know one that is really big that those of us who advocate in this space try to amplify is that people don't quite understand what the donation process can look like. A lot of time they'll tell their doctor, okay, I want to and they leave it there thinking that the doctor is going to put them on the list. And that's not quite how it goes. So they go all this time thinking they're listed just to call and see where they are on the list and see that they're not listed. No one has made appointments for them to get an evaluation, to meet with the transplant team, none of this. So having navigators and staff in place to actually help walk patients through the process of getting transplanted is one. Also, we know access to transplant programs. If you live in a rural town, and transplant at a hospital or at a healthcare institution may not be close to you. Some people, they have to drive 8, 9 hours out just to get to a transplant program.
Wow.
And if you have problems with transportation, not only does that impact transplant center program. It can also impact just going to get your regular appointments to make sure you're still healthy enough to be listed. Financial reasons. There are some programs that require you to have so much money up front in a bank account before you can get listed to ensure that you'll be able to afford your medications and things like that. Tell you have to have $20,000 in a bank account
Mm,
before you can get listed. Um, that kind of if you're just worried about paying rent and all of this, where will you find that $20,000?
yeah.
There are a lot of barriers that people aren't familiar with, but they keep people from of color from getting listed.
Mm,
Lack of access to education. Sometimes they're in places and they don't even get the information that they can sign up to get a transplant.
mm.
Um, Lack of resources. So those are some of the barriers that I know of that are prevalent in trying to get listed for a transplant.
Yeah, again, always learning so much from you. So, there's some cases where they have to have a minimum in their bank account, which is very interesting because, it's a health matter, not like applying for a mortgage, but it makes it seem like it, that these organs are on the market and have to qualify financially for it. Yeah, there's
Absolutely.
definitely a lot of work to do there, and that is disheartening for somebody that obviously, if you need an organ, you're not at your best. So that to have another burden, such as you said, transportation to these special facilities, that can be challenging, especially for people in rural areas, and then meeting the minimum requirements. So that can come as a shock to a lot of people. I know that would for me. Um, so many questions. So, um, I guess like up front, and then we can take the conversation from there. So when it comes to, minorities and such, when we list, usually we're familiar with organ donors because of a driver's license. That's one of the questions that you have to fill out. Organ donor, yes or no. So that's on your license. So a couple of things. First, like answer like by selecting yes, like is that sufficient enough just to say yes on your driver's license? And then I want to turn into the whole life saving thing. Like if I'm in a car accident, they see I'm in a see yes, they're not gonna fight as hard to save my life because they want my organs, because I guess it's a big market. So yeah, so answer those three questions. The simple one, yeah. So saying yes on your driver's license, is that sufficient?
That is sufficient. In fact, just letting your friends and family know that you want to be an organ donor is sufficient. Letting someone know that that is your desire, that is your request. You passed on, that's enough because when it comes down to it, pretty much that's one of the first things they're going to do is ask your family, did they wish to be an organ donor? If you say yes on your license, you will go into the database, the Donate Life database, to say that yes, I choose to be an organ donor. You have to put it on your driver's license. Some people, to answer the other question about, if you choose to be an organ donor, will they do their best to save you? And the best example I can give right now, and I won't say names because it might date this, but an actress recently was in a very bad car accident and she was on life support, her brain dead, but they kept her on life support because she needed someone matched for her heart. And so, in order to get that heart and keep that heart healthy, they had to keep the heart beating. Because once the heart starts beating, it's not as useful or healthy anymore. So, life support to keep that going so that they could transplant it to another individual. So, that's to say, they have to keep those organs as healthy as possible in order for them to be viable to put in another individual. So they're not going to do anything to hurt you. They're not going to just let you go because they want that heart, because quite frankly, you don't even know if that heart is going to match, so it would be like killing people or letting people, go for for unknown reasons. So, um, yeah, no one's going to let you pass on because of that. Um,
Yeah.
we had this. What was the first question?
Just if put in yes on your license is sufficient. Was there any other steps you got to
Oh,
put in there? Yeah.
so that goes back to my point. Some people don't care to put it on their license because they do feel that if it's on their license and a doctor or a policeman or someone sees it, they're not going to take the best care of them, which isn't true. But if that's how you choose to, kind of maneuver this, you don't have to put it on your license. You can just register at Donate Life and .org, I believe, and right there you go into the registry. So when that time comes, um, it's already there. And I tell people, you have no idea sometimes how much easier it makes it for family and friends because they're already going through all of these emotions, and then they have to figure out, what do I do with the organs? You know, and a lot of times it can be emotional to think of your loved one departing with their organs to help other people. So when you go ahead and put that in place, no different than a will, no different than an estate planning, is one less decision they have to make.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And that's even good to know that just telling somebody verbally, such as like a will, sometimes that works. But putting in your license is sufficient because it goes into the national database. Quinn also shared, let's say, God forbid there is a fatal car accident, or it's close to being that way. It has to be, all the organs have to be very healthy and in good working condition, because there's a time frame too from when they harvest the organs to keep it moving. It has to be a fast process, as that looks like.
Yes.
Mhm.
So they have to pretty quickly, and a lot of times they put them in like little thermos type boxes that
Mhm.
keep them feeding but keeps them safe, keeps them viable. If an organ shows up to the transplant hospital and is frozen, you can't use it. All these different things. So that's why I tell people organ donation, it has its processes to make sure that those organs are at their best. You're going to get the best of lungs or heart, anything like that. No one's going to just throw it, and we hope it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes organs a little while to wake up because they're moving. They're moving from one person to another person in transit. And, sometimes they're a little tired and they have to wake up to reach their full capacity. But yes, there is a time limit of an organ. Usually it's between 24, 48 hours. And it has to be transplanted pretty quickly after that.
Yeah. That's so true. And then really, we didn't even just discuss this at the beginning, but it's a great way to kind of introduce your story. Quinn knows firsthand about organ transplants because she is a recipient of a kidney donation. Um, and that she'll share a little bit more about that, and because she did get the urgent call. So just first, can briefly just walk us through, uh, when did learn that you needed a transplant, and what the process was like with the team, and then up until the time where you received the call. Hmm.
Well, as I like to say, to make a long story go away, I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease at the age of 20. Um, I was in undergrad, living life, and my body went out of whack. I came home. I went to the doctor for something completely unrelated. They took labs, and when they looked at my blood, they called. It was 5 o'clock in the evening, and they said, "You need to go to the emergency room now. Your kidneys are failing."
Mm.
I always say that's one of the most defining moments of my life. You're telling me my kidneys are failing. Um, Dialysis had always been a part of my life because my dad had been on dialysis since before I was born. So I grew up with this very great understanding of it probably a greater understanding than a lot of adults. But at that moment to a patient, and nothing kind of prepares you for that. So at that point, actually, they started talking about transplant with me.
Mm.
Like, you're young, you can go ahead and get a kidney, you never have to go on dialysis, things like that. And in full transparency, I didn't want a transplant at first,
Mm.
just because my dad had a transplant. And at that time, he had a transplant and it was working. But I
Mm.
saw, and just to preface this, by this time, my dad had been on dialysis probably about 25 years. So
Okay.
his case was definitely different from mine, but all I saw was some of the things he had to go through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, not for me.
Yeah.
So they put me on a medication regimen that sustained my kidney function for 7 years. And so at the age of 27, well, actually in 2008, my doctor says, I never made you any promises. So it looks like you're going to have to get ready to you have to get ready to go on dialysis. 2009, I spent the whole year going to school. I was working on my master's and working and getting ready for dialysis. It was like a blur.
Mm.
And so January 18th of 2010, I started dialysis. And they talked to me then, to be here long, you can get a transplant. I said, no, thank you. That's not where I am right now. About 2 years later, every treatment I've ever had, I would look up in the ceiling and ask myself, how did I get here? Because this wasn't a part of the plan.
Right.
And so one day I said, I'm young, I'm ready to go back to work, to do more with my life. So let's give this transplant thing a chance. And my barrier to getting transplanted was losing weight.
Mm.
And so I took my birthday money. I went and got a personal trainer, worked with this fabulous health club who knew why I was losing the weight. They supported me very well, and I ended up losing about 100 pounds just by working out. And it was really kismet. It was purpose, and God had his hand in it, because I went to go to the transplant programs, the center, to get evaluated, because they knew I had been working hard to lose weight.
Uh-huh.
And they checked me out, and they said because I was so tall,
Mm.
that my weight distributed, and they were able to get in and put the kidney in with no problem. So then they put me before all of the doctors, because they choose who gets to go get listed, and they listed me on April 15th of 2013, I want to say.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got listed. And then I had to wait an extra year, apparently, because of my blood type. But yeah, I think I told this the Tuesday. It was a Tuesday, November 3rd, and I was going to home dialysis to check my home to make sure I had a drain and I had storage for all of my supplies. I did. They gave me a start date of December 1st. That Wednesday, I went to dialysis. And I was in a really bad mood that day. And I came home and went to sleep early. And then at 2:00 in the morning, I got the call saying, we have a kidney for you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just yeah, what a way to be blindsided at 20, but and being transparent about not having organ donation being your number one choice. Like, that's not for me. That's not for me. But you were really blessed with a great medical team to support your choice and decision, and did the best care that they knew how to do during that time. And then and you did the work to be able to by getting with a personal trainer and everything. So that was fantastic. And then you got the call 2:00 in the morning, and you had to go really fast, didn't you?
Most people, when they get a call, they get 2 to 3 calls saying that we might have it, kind of stay around and we'll let you know. For me, this was the first call I ever got, and they told me I had a kidney. And I was just kind of like, okay, God, well, I see you. Let's see where this is going to go. And so the nurse asked me, well, my pre-transplant coordinator, she said, how fast can you get to the hospital 5 minutes because my hospital really is like 5-10 minutes away. And so she was like, well, get here. So what only a few people knew is that a year before I had packed my transplant bag already and I kept it in the trunk of my car as, faith that it was going
Yeah.
to happen soon. And so when they called, I grabbed the bag out of my trunk, went to the hospital, did a few tests and screenings, and yeah, and literally I got there in about 5-10 minutes.
Look, yeah, that would call for an immediate rush there. And that
Yes,
goes with the same when they say when you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So
I
Quinn was ready.
feel about that.
And yes, she was ready to go. If they called her, she was like, oh, hold on, I got to get ready. Like,
Yes,
no, she was already on her way.
yeah, it was all in faith.
It was all in faith. And what has I love when we talked about before how you're seeing how the world looks so different. So just tell us your experience of when the operation was done and you now have this new kidney after so many years, from 20, and now we're fast forward to like what 28?
Uh, 32.
32. So from 20 to now 32,
Exactly 32
experiencing
years.
a different just a pivot in life. What was that moment like for you, and how has it been since?
Well, it was the first moment I remember waking up. Of course, I probably been awake many times before, but
Mhm.
I remember them pushing me in. It was a little after, and they were taking me to the ICU. And my mom was there, and she was leaving because it was after midnight. She had been in the hospital all day because I actually went into surgery at 4 p.m. for an early evening.
Okay.
And I just remember saying, "Don't leave me, don't leave me." And I know she felt really bad, but it was just
Mhm.
the anesthesia. But when I opened my eyes, I was myself. And I opened my eyes, and I remember there was a picture on the wall,
Mhm.
and it was as if the colors were jumping off of the picture. They were so bright and vibrant. And
Oh,
when I opened my eyes and started to look around, it was like seeing the world in a new way, waking out of this deep, deep sleep. And the world was just so bright and so clear. Um, like, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of when because my dad did have a transplant. And when he woke up, I was right there by his side. And like he took his finger and was rubbing my face, like, girl, I'm alive again, like I'm here. And so to see this world, and it looked brand new, like literally brand new. It is a moment I will never forget.
oh my
Um,
goodness.
and so after that, I had a really quick recovery
Mm.
off of the ICU floor within a day. So I went in on Thursday and was discharged on Monday. Um, I didn't really need pain medicine. Everything just worked out for my good. And so
Wow.
I left the hospital. We were actually going to pick up my dad from dialysis. And so the nurse came out and she talked and she says, "Don't come back." And I told her, "You don't have to worry about it. I will not be
That
back unless you do."
okay.
Yeah, like now my it will be 7 years old in November. Um,
Wow.
it is perfectly healthy. I am healthy. I do like that. A transplant isn't a cure. It's
Mhm.
simply another way to get. It's another way to get dialysis. It's a more efficient way of getting dialysis that improves your quality of life. Do I still have, other things that I manage? Yes, I do. Um, but I wouldn't life being able to go places and being able to live out my dreams. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Just to remind me of, I don't know, just like when like Alice in Wonderland, things come into life and feeling like bright colors and just all your senses like elevated. That's just a beautiful moment that God was
Yeah.
allowed you to have. It's a new, uh, it's a new life, really, just to breathe back life into you, though. But as you mentioned, there is still, management with kidney disease. And so you're staying strong and staying on top of it. And I mean, always an inspiration to me. So thank you so much for your transparency and sharing that. And really, and that's what's so important. We wanted to get on here and talk about what organ donation really is, and why is it important for minorities to know about the barriers and how to help. But just us knowing is half the battle. So there are people that we would love to be accountable. We have our advocates. Um, it really comes down to medical teams and also legislators. So it's a group of people, a network. So how important, let's talk about, legislatively, how important is it for them to acknowledge this, and how, have they helped with these barriers, and what work still needs to be done?
Um, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the organ transplant system.
Mm-hmm.
Gratefully, some of it is being done right now to just make sure that healthy, viable kidneys are getting to hospitals, healthcare institutions, healthy and viable. Um, um, there was actually some legislation passed here in Illinois that allows transplant patients. So usually, if you're on Medicare post transplant, Medicare will pay for your medicines and everything for the next 3 years. After 3 years, they kind of so legislation was passed here in Illinois that allows transplant patients to continue with their Medicare even past those 3 years, actually for the life of their kidney. And so that's how important it is. A lot of times people, after the 3 years, they're trying to pay out of pocket for medicines. I know it happened to me, like it straight up happened to me.
Mm.
Uh, one of my anti-rejection pills was $2,000.
Wow, just for
Gratefully,
one.
I had just for one, and the other one is like 2,500. So luckily for me, because I do what I do, I knew to reach out to my social worker, and she was able to connect me with pharmaceutical companies, vacation, because they had these low income, programs where they would give me the real, not a generic, but the actual pill. So always have a tight relationship with your social worker because they can get you those type of opportunities.
Mhm.
But that legislation has changed with transplants um, in ways I can't even express.
Mhm.
Screenings, so for me, my kidney disease, FSGS, is genetic. So a lot of times when people have FSGS, they might go to the doctor and they have high blood pressure
Okay.
or something, so there's a morbidity of FSGS. And doctors will say, get your blood pressure down. You need to eat healthy. Well, I do eat healthy and I do work out, and this is still a problem. And then they just put you on blood pressure meds and send you away instead of screening you in your kidneys.
Yeah, it has to go further than that.
Yes, because we know that the second leading cause of um, chronic kidney disease, especially people of color.
Mhm.
So to get legislation passed that screenings are not to, you don't request them, but they're automatic. When
Yes.
this and making sure, hey, let's screen their kidneys too. I think that one of the biggest things that we're focusing on right now is preventative care, right? In so many different places, but especially in CKD, because there are so many things that can be done to prevent things from happening, even down to kidney disease and cardiometabolic disease. When you have kidney disease, it makes you more susceptible to get. So they teach you how to eat right, be healthy, be active, all of these things that we all need to do anyway.
Right.
When you're at high risk for chronic illness, you need to kind of amplify that,
Yes.
because it's the difference between taking a pill and going on dialysis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something being done, but just need legislation to make sure that it's reinforced and people are held accountable.
Yes. Thank you so much for breaking it down. I mean, that's what's so important to educate yourself and get involved definitely with voting on, who is petitioning for these rights and these changes, but also bring to light to your local representatives. So, I mean, they're there for you. So please communicate with them.
Absolutely.
Yes, because you just don't want these barriers, and even though if you're not directly impacted, you just never know. We all have organs. We can't predict the future. We always hope for the best
Right.
though, but it could be yourself or a loved one, a coworker, friend though. So just even hearing this information, you never know what would be valuable for yourself or somebody else. Um, and social workers are really important. Um, so yeah, to advocate for you and to help you to connect you with some other things that are there. Because I don't think this is something you want to just try to navigate through yourself. um, lean on the available resources that are there, and you never expected to know everything. And a social worker that they're doing this work on a day-to-day basis, they could just probably ramble off all sorts of things what could take you like maybe a whole month to research. So
And
yeah,
no,
time is of the
absolutely.
essence. Yeah.
Utilize your resources. I always say when you get diagnosed with a chronic illness, it doesn't come with a handbook. There's no blueprint. You're just out there trying to figure out all of this medical overwhelm. So utilize the people who are there um, to help you navigate it alone. Um, it's really hard.
Yeah. It is. Well, there is, I mean, we are coming up to end of our time, but there definitely are resources. If you go onto healcollaborative.org in our blog section, you'll see Quinn's lovely face speaking a little bit more about National Minority Donor Month. There are a couple helpful links in that article. Quinn, you could definitely reach out to her also. She's on our website for contact information. If you have any questions or just want to connect with her, she's there. Quinn, thank you so much for bringing this to light. I really hope that whoever is watching this can be very helpful for them. It certainly has been for me. And again, thank you for being so open to sharing your own personal journey with this. And yeah, we'll just continue to do the work here.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to share. The more people who are informed, the more people who are empowered, are the number of people who will remain healthier. So we work together to build communities of color up so that communities of color are healthier. And this is our attempt, or we've done it. So this is our win in making people healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time. Bye.